We're here. How you
Hi,
doing today?
I'm doing great. Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Glad you're here to VA Claims Insiders Facebook Live. I am veteran coach Gil Shuga, along with my buddy over here, Coach Daryl McDonald, DMAC as he's affectionately known here. How you doing today, Daryl?
I am doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. It's great to be here on this Wednesday Facebook Live.
Awesome. As our vets join us, we ask you to sound off in the comments. Throw up where you're located, what branch you serve, when you serve. We'd love to hear from you.
Right on. So, hey, just a little about me before we get started. And I know it's pretty common practice, but I did serve in the Marine Corps. Um, I was in the first Gulf War, got out with a disability. I was a high school teacher for about 16 years, and then I went on to work for the VA for about 11 years. 6.5 of that I spent as a rating specialist, and then I also was part of the management staff at the local regional office. But coming to VACI has been a godsend, and I'm happy to be here, happy to help veterans every day. Life-changing stuff. What do you think, Gil?
I think you're absolutely right about being life-changing stuff. I'm a veteran myself. I served in the Navy for quite a few years, a little bit earlier than young Daryl there, but I had a great time serving when I did serve. I did a variety of things after I got out and time passed. I stumbled across VA Claims Insider and decided rather than paying lip service to helping fellow veterans as I was doing for so many years, I thought I'd finally do something to help them. So I came on board, and it has been a joy ever since. You know, Daryl mentioned the phrase life-changing, and that really is the case here. Our goal is to help veterans get the ratings that they deserve, whether you're filing your initial rating or increasing the ratings that you have because you are underrated, as so many veterans are. And by helping you through our process, coaching you, helping you get educated and providing the proper medical evidence, our goal is to help you get the rating that you deserve, and in the process, changing lives for you and your family. So we're very, very glad you're here. Hopefully today you can learn something about the VA disability process. We're going to give you an opportunity to ask us questions. You can throw them up in the chat. We will answer them at the end as best we can. And just be aware that we may not have time to get to all of your questions. And even if we don't, someone on the staff will get back to you later on and try and answer your question as best we can. So be patient. Give us a chance. We've got a presentation to get through, but we'll do our best to answer questions there at the end.
Wow. Let's do some shout outs. First off, I'd like to welcome every Vietnam veteran that's attending today. Welcome home. I know you didn't get the welcome home you deserved when you first came back. So, welcome home. Welcome home. I'm glad to have you here. And to all my Marine brothers, Semper Fi. We got quite a few Army veterans in here. Bisbee, Arizona. I've been to Bisbee. I used to live in Yuma. I lived in Yuma for about 18 years. So if you want to know what hot is, go move down to Arizona. But I saw Blythe up there, Blythe, California, and then I also saw Bisbee, Arizona. Bisbee's a beautiful town. Geraldine Mills, yeah. Bisbee is a beautiful, beautiful town built into the mountains.
You know, I live in Arizona. I'm just outside of the Phoenix area.
And, oh, right on.
Talk about hot. You know, I was born and raised here. Other than school and military, I've been here most of my life, and I know we're making national news for our weather these days.
Right.
It is hot. It is hot. We have the hottest July on record, and looks like August isn't going to disappoint. But you get used to it.
Yeah.
Get used to it. I'll take what we have over some of the heat and humidity they have in other parts of the country.
Yeah, I love it when people say it's a dry heat. It's 120 degrees, but it's a dry heat. Climb in your oven, turn the oven on at 120, and tell me it's a dry heat after about 10 hours.
Well, I got to say, man, we say that, but it's true. I mean, if you've ever been in Miami or New Orleans or Houston, any of those kind of places, when it's hot and humid, you'll take the 110, 115, even 120 with 20% humidity rather than 98 with 98 humidity.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's worse.
Yep. I live in central Iowa currently, and that's exactly what it gets here, about 99 degrees with 98% humidity. You walk outside, you can't breathe. But
no, thanks. You can have that. I'll take this. I'll I'll risk burning my hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah. Right on. We got some Navy veterans. It's good to have
Excellent.
everybody here.
Yeah.
Edward Baldridge, 84 to 87, U.S. Army MP. Welcome.
You know, we usually have every branch represented here. We're always glad to have that. You know, Daryl was right. Some of our older vets or Vietnam vets, we're really glad to see you here. A lot of you folks have struggled with a lot of things, and if we can help ease those struggles a little bit, we'll be happy to do so. Any of our Marines, Navy, Air Force. I didn't see any Coasties in here yet, but I'm sure we have some.
Yeah, we do have I saw a Coast Guard up here earlier. We do have a Coast Guard.
There we go. Glad to see it. We never seem to have enough Navy vets in here. Although I'm a big believer that it's quality over quantity. So, you know, a couple of us is usually enough.
Right on. Hey, Bill Ra, welcome here.
All right. See someone else here from the Phoenix area. Glad to have you. You know what I was talking about? Other Navy vets, Army vets, a lot of Marine Corps. That's always good to see. You meet someone who's a Marine and you don't know it, just give them 5 minutes and they'll tell you. So, is that right, D-Mac?
Can confirm.
Proud service. I like to tell my Marine buddies that you know that as a Marine, you know the history of the Marine Corps and the establishment in Tun Tavern back once upon a time. I'm a fond believer that that's the best idea that came out of a tavern ever.
Yeah. Bruce Gary, 62 to 66, Marine Corps, Yuma, Arizona.
There you go.
Semper Fi. DOD
awesome.
Kuwait. All right. Got a good blend here.
Yes, we do. About ready to get into our disclaimer here. We need a couple more minutes.
No, let's get rolling.
All right. That's right. Well, let me get some formalities out of the way and we'll get into the lesson here. Let's talk about our disclaimer first of all. We are not accredited agents, VSOs, attorneys, or any other entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA, and we are not affiliated with the VA in any way. VA Claims Insider is an education-based coaching consulting company for disabled veterans exploring eligibility for increased VA disability benefits and who wish to learn more about that process. VA Claims Insider also connects veterans with our preferred provider network for medical examinations and independent medical opinions, IMOs, for a wide range of disability conditions. All right, we'll talk about a little bit. When you work with us here at VA Claims Insider, we're going to focus on strategy, education, and medical evidence for your disability claim. You're going to get one-on-one coaching with one of the veteran coaches, like Coach Daryl, myself, one of the others. We'll work with you for a strategy session to help decide where you are, where you've been, where you need to go. We'll coach you through your claim submission as best as possible so that you can submit your claim the best way possible, hoping you can achieve the success you deserve. And we'll educate you with the CNP preparation process, compensation and pension exam. You'll commonly hear that referred to as a CNP exam. By the way, if we throw some jargon at you, because we do this all day, every day, don't be afraid to ask in the question, what the heck does that mean? I don't know what that means. We'll do our best to try to explain ourselves as we go, but sometimes we forget that we speak this all day, every day. We also offer live classes via Zoom every day, usually 3 times a day, different classes. And then Monday through Friday, we have our Coffee with the Coaches, which is an informal gathering, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time, where a team of the coaches meets with all the veterans, asks questions, builds some camaraderie. It's usually a good time as well as being educational. We have mental health exam preparation classes to make sure that you are properly prepared for any independent medical evaluation that you're going through, as well as your CNP exam. And same with medical exam preparation. We have to place class like that. All right. If you want to know more, if you're not a member of VA Claims Insider, you can schedule a free discovery call with one of our veteran ambassadors and talk to one of our team members about what we do and how we do it and what it takes for you to join us, to be a part of us, and to take advantage of what we do have to offer for you. If you're a member and you need help, reach out to our organization at vaclaimsinsider.com. We'd love for all of you that don't work with us to at least explore the option to do so, to see if we might, in fact, be a good fit for you. Because, as our motto says, if you served, you deserve. And we truly believe that, and we'd like to help as many veterans as we possibly can.
Right on, right on. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it, okay? Our topic for the day is going to be the VA claims process. What happens to your claim after you file it? Where does it go? What does it do? Who touches it? Who doesn't touch it? There's a lot of questions that get asked, and if you don't know the process, if you don't know the steps in the process, a lot of times I know veterans will go onto va.gov and they'll look there, or they have the VA app and they'll look there. That's not always accurate. So just so that people know that up front, that it's not always accurate. But let's start off a little bit by talking about what do you need? What do you need for a claim, right? Gil, I know we call it the golden circle. The VA calls it the Kaluza triangle, but there are some certain things you need to have in order to have a claim with the VA. You want to hit on those real quick?
Absolutely. Our golden circle comprises 4 specific steps. Number 1, you have to have a current diagnosis of a disability condition in your medical records. If you don't have a diagnosis, you've got no starting point. So that's what you want to get first. And as you'll hear our founder, Brian Reese, say often, get your butt to the doctor, because that's what it takes to get a diagnosis of your condition. Just because you know you have something wrong and you say you have something wrong, that's not sufficient. You have to have a current diagnosis. Once you have that, then you move on to step 2, and that's evidence of an in-service event, an injury, disease, or aggravation. In other words, can you document that this arose in service? Remember, the whole goal here is to establish service connection, meaning did this arise in service? Without that evidence, again, you can't complete the step. Once you have evidence that it arose in service, was diagnosed in service, or caused by an already service-connected condition, that's a secondary condition. We'll talk about that another time. Then, with those 2 things, you need a nexus, which is the VA's term for a connection, connecting those first 2 things, linking those. You need competent medical evidence to show that, in fact, your currently diagnosed disability was caused by the event or occurrence in service. That opinion bridges that gap. That is your nexus opinion. If any one of those 3 things is missing, the VA cannot grant your claim. So you have to have all 3 of those things. But we add a 4th step here, and we talk about severity of symptoms. In other words, the VA wants to know the frequency, severity, and duration of your symptoms. How often does this happen to you? If it's a flare-up for a physical condition, if it's a mental health condition, it's a physical condition, and how bad is it? What's the severity? How does this affect you, and how long do those last? These are the things the VA uses to determine the level at which you're going to be rated. And if you don't provide evidence, you're leaving it in the VA's hands to determine, okay, we think this is X, 10, 20, 30, when you think it might be a 50 or 70% rating if that applies to that particular condition. We want to make sure that you provide the VA all of the appropriate evidence to support your claim. Now, that's the general concept. But what are the nuts and bolts? How does my claim process? What happens after I file my disability claim? Joe's going to take us through some of that stuff.
Right on. So once you have all of that information that Gil just went over, once you have that you meet the needs of that Kaluza triangle, and you submit your paperwork, whether you do it through va.gov or you do it the paper version, however you decide to do it, that claim then goes to Janesville, Wisconsin. Okay. Once it's in Janesville, Wisconsin, they actually scan it in, or they upload it to the system that the VA uses, called Veterans Benefit Management System, or VBMS. Okay. Once it's in the VBMS system, all right, then and I'm going to kind of break it down for you a little bit, where it goes from there, how it goes, and then give you some estimated timeframes. Now, these are estimated. These are average, and yes, right now the PACT Act is kind of slowing things down a little bit. But these are the average times that a claim can sit in a certain stage. And just so you know, there's a lot of variables that are involved with that. What rating specialist gets your work, which VSR gets your work, what regional office gets your work. So there's a lot of variables that are involved with it. But the first thing, usually it takes them about 7 to 14 days once your claim has been received by Janesville to get it scanned in, and get it uploaded into the VBMS system. Now, once it's in the VBMS system, everything is digital, so it works on clouds. Okay. So once it's in the VBMS system through Janesville, then it goes up into a national work queue or a national work queue cloud. Then as regional offices need work, then the claims are dropped down from the cloud into the bucket that the regional office uses. And I use buckets a lot, and everybody kind of jokes and chuckles about that, but that's the best analogy that I can draw with it. So once it's dropped down into a regional office's bucket, usually it'll go to a VSR. As soon as a VSR needs work, or a veteran service representative, VSR, needs work, then your claim will drop down into their bucket. All right. They'll pull that out. They'll start working it. It usually takes about 7 to 21 days for them to review it, make sure that you have all the evidence you need, make sure that they've gathered everything that they need. And that's part of their duty to assist. It's 38 CFR 3.159. So once they have all of the information that they need, then some regional offices will set you up with a C&P exam at the VSR level. Others will use a rating specialist to do it. But kind of jumping around here a little bit. So it's sitting with a veteran service representative, okay, and they review it. They go after any records they may need to go after. If you've notified them that you have private treatment records, they will request those records. Okay. Once they get everything they need, then they'll send it up to the cloud again. It'll go back up to the cloud, and then as a rating specialist needs the work, then it'll drop down into the rating specialist bucket. Now, the gathering evidence stage that the VSR does and the review of evidence stage, those are usually anywhere from 30 to 60 days. That's why we kind of stress the importance of a fully developed claim. Okay, so once that fully developed claim is in, it takes less time. It works through the system a little quicker, so it might be less than that 30, 60 days. But it might be, with the PACT Act thing going on, it might be a little bit longer, but average about 30 to 60 days.
Now, Daryl, when we talk about fully developed claim, we're talking about the vet submitting all of the evidence the VA needs to make a decision, correct?
Right. That's all your medical evidence. And if we didn't say it before, we're going to say it now again: medical evidence wins claims. Make sure you get all your medical evidence turned in, and that includes your link or your nexus. All right. Get all that stuff turned into the VA. That makes you that helps everything move smoother, right? So now the veteran service representative doesn't have to request any type of private treatment records or anything like that. So submit everything you have at one time. Get it all in there at once.
I like to think of it this way: the easier you make it for the VA to make a decision for you, the faster it's going to go, and the more likely they're going to make a decision in your favor. All right. Anytime you make someone else's job easier, that's going to be better for you.
Right on. Yeah. And it definitely takes less time once you get all that stuff submitted. So now the rating specialist has your claim. All right. If the VSR has the veteran service representative has set you up for a C&P exam, obviously you need to attend that examination. And I've noticed, and I don't know about you, Gil, but I've kind of noticed that once you submit your claim, the VSR reviews it, and now you're off to your examination. That process for that examination has been happening really quickly in a lot of cases. Have you been seeing the same thing?
Absolutely. And in fact, I encourage my vets, as soon as you get that claim submitted, start preparing for your C&P exam, because you don't want to get caught thinking you can rest for a week or two because they're not going to call you. I've had vets who submitted a claim on, say, Monday, Get a call by Wednesday for a C&P exam on Friday. Boom, there it is. Or even I had one called on a Thursday for a Saturday exam. And so there's no time to waste. They're moving pretty quick on getting those things scheduled lately, and in most situations. Some of them they still take a long time, but for the most part, you're absolutely right, Joe. They are coming quick.
Right, and that's why we push that fully developed claim. You're giving the VA everything they need. They can make that decision on whether you're going to get an examination or not right away, so it doesn't have to wait. Now,
and in some cases, if you have all of the evidence they think is necessary, they may not require you to appear for an exam at all. They'll simply review the records, do an acceptable clinical evidence exam, an ACE exam, they call it, and they're going to make a decision based upon what you have submitted. So again, you are making it easy for the VA to take a look at your claim and say, okay, let's make a decision. Let's move forward.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's also where the DBQs come into play, the disability benefits questionnaires. And for those of you who don't know what that is, so when you go to a compensation and pension exam and you see a VA doctor, they fill out, it's called a disability benefits questionnaire, DBQ. They fill that form out. Then they send that back to the VA, and that's what the rating specialist uses, that and a review of your file. That's what they use to rate the claim that you've submitted. So the VA in a lot of the good things they do one of the things that they've done is they've allowed for your civilian doctors to fill out these disability benefits questionnaires, so you can submit them as part of your fully developed claim. And they should be able to rate straight directly off of that DBQ to make the process go even quicker. So there's several different ways you can get your examination done. You can do the DBQ, they can do the ACE examination, you can do an in-person examination, or you can do a virtual examination. So once that exam is set up and you've completed that exam, the results will go back to the VA. The rating specialist will now take that and they will review it. And as long as they have all the information they need, they can make a decision on that claim. And that usually takes 7 to 14 days for it to go through that process. Now, keep in mind, like I said earlier, there are a lot of variables that go along with this, okay? And a lot of it has to do with what regional office needs work, what rating specialist needs work, things like that. So there are a lot of variables, but we're giving you kind of average times here. All right. And then once the rating specialist has made a decision on the claim, it will go to what they call the post-development team. The post-development team has an authorizer and an adjudicator, and what they'll do is they will review the rating decision to make sure that like the effective date is correct, things like that. Just making sure that the rating decision is proper, and then they'll authorize it, and then that's when you'll receive a letter after that. So it is a timely process. It does take a while. I've seen them come back quick. I've seen them come back several months. So really, it all depends. That's why we kind of preach doing the one or two issues at a time. It works through the process just a little quicker.
Yeah, the thing about you filing multiple claims all at the same time, that really can slow down the process, because what's going to happen is if the VA decides that you need multiple C&P exams because you have different claims, and more importantly, different kinds of claims, those are going to be exams at different people with different specialties, different locations. They're going to have their own schedule. They're going to take a while. And oftentimes, correct me if I don't understand this right, but I think it is, all of those get lumped together, and you're not going to get a decision in many cases until they're all completed. And so it slows down the whole process because you've got multiple things working at the same time, and the VA wants to put it all together in a nice package for you. Occasionally, if you got 6 things out there and they're waiting for one decision, you'll get a decision on 5 with the 6th one deferred, meaning we'll decide later. But oftentimes, that's going to take you substantially longer to get a decision, get an answer, than you would get if you did them one at a time.
Right. And I will tell everybody that the VA rating specialists and the VSRs all work on 2 conditions. They work on their production and they work on quality. All right. So, in order to get production in, you kind of have to move quickly through the process. So it's really common for raters to take those 1-2 issue claims and throw those out, get those rated first, get those taken care of. And then later on in the day, after they've made their production, then they'll start tackling those multi-issue claims. We lost Gil. You'll start taking those
I'm right here.
Right on. You start taking, then you start working on those multi-issue claims, and you're absolutely right. So if there's the VA has a policy that you can't deny and defer. All right. And a deferral, like Gil said, is they usually need more evidence in order to either grant or deny the claim. They can't grant or deny it because they are lacking certain evidence to do either one. So that's when they usually defer. So they can grant and defer. So like Gil said, they can grant 4 conditions and defer 1. They absolutely can do that. And I know a lot of people see those defers, and I get a lot of questions on why was it deferred. If you look in your rating decision, it'll tell you typically it's because they need some kind of clarification on an exam, or they need some kind of an examination done that wasn't done. But it is a long process. It is a slow process. But I think we were talking beforehand. I got out of the Marine Corps in '91. This process now takes roughly 124, 125 days on average. When I came out in '91, this process took a year and a half. So they are getting a lot better. And at times they move a lot quicker. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, right now the PACT Act is kind of slowing things down. I don't think they prepared so much for I don't think they were too prepared for the amount of claims that they were going to get in as far as the PACT Act went. Just real quick, talking about the PACT Act too, and I know this is a little off topic, but today is the day that you have to have your intent to file in for the PACT Act. So if you have any questions about that and you're not a member, do a discovery call. See if you can get in today with a discovery call. Maybe not, but make sure that you are reaching out, do a discovery call. If you're not a client already or you're not a veteran that's with VACI, make sure you do that. Come over, take a talk with us. We'll definitely let you know.
Now, keep in mind that today's deadline, which is getting a lot of news and a lot of press, is for eligibility to be backdated to the change in law of last August. So a year of backdating on things that are submitted by today, or the intent to file by today. Your ability to make claims under the PACT Act continues. Tomorrow, 6 months, a year from now, it just loses the ability to be backdated to the change in law date, which is August of last year. That's the important distinction. And I don't think the VA or other organizations have made that particularly clear to a lot of vets. And so I think we have a lot of vets that are panic filing today or yesterday thinking that I'll never be able to file this again. And that's just not the case. But they will, if appropriate and if approved, possibly qualify for back pay for a year. That's what today's deadline is all about.
Yeah. And it doesn't exclude you from filing in the future. That's absolutely correct. So we covered the claims process, what happens. And I do like using the bucket analogy because it does make sense. National work queue bucket, regional office buckets, and then each regional office has buckets for their rating specialists and for their VSRs, and they even have them for the post-development team. So as you can tell, it can take a while. And after any action is taken, then it goes back up to the national work queue bucket, and then it can drop down again to any bucket, actually. So you could live, and I know the VA is getting better at this, but you could live in Hawaii, and your claim can actually be worked by somebody in New York. It all just really depends on who needs work, when they need work, and their availability to work through the claims process. Now, with all of this, there is the regional offices do have a time and queue requirement that they have to meet. So sometimes, unfortunately, there's an action that'll be taken on a claim just to move it through a queue, which is not beneficial to the veteran. But for the most part, most regional offices are honest when they're working through it, and they're working those claims as diligently as they can. Doesn't always seem that way, but that's the intent. Okay. All right. What do you think, Gail? Anything else we need to cover as far as the process goes?
No, I think you hit it pretty well. I mean, you know this process probably as well as anybody out there, and I think you did a great job enlightening things. The overall concept is that it can be frustrating because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You read the status updates online and it tells you where it is, or they've made an internal request and it's confusing to you. And unfortunately, as Daryl highlighted a bunch of times, a lot of this depends on a variety of other factors. And every case is different. If you put together a solid, fully developed claim with all the medical evidence that you need, you're going to help streamline the process, and that's going to go well. If you're missing something and the VA needs to do more investigation, and if they're having trouble getting the evidence that they need to have to make a decision, that's going to drag the process out even longer. Now, unfortunately, there is no statutory deadline for the VA to file or to comply with or make a decision. And so for some of you that have had claims that seem to take a long, long, long time, and you think that that's unreasonable or unfair, there's usually a reason why that's happening, and the VA is not violating anything by taking that long. But it is frustrating. It doesn't change that. We certainly understand how frustrating that can be. So, when you work with us, you're going to hear from a lot of us, the most hated answer in the world, and that is, it depends. A lot of the questions you ask, well, it depends. It depends upon you. It depends upon your evidence. It depends upon how busy the VA is. It depends on how busy that particular reason is. It depends upon how available a CNP examiner is for that particular condition in that particular location. So all these things work together, and sometimes make a delay, sometimes moves pretty fast. Now, Daryl, I don't know what your fastest claim is, but I had one recently that surprised me. From submission to decision was 10 days. Clearly no CNP exam. They had everything they needed. We got to the right people. Boom, boom, boom. Got a good, solid decision in that short period of time. I know that's not the fastest one I've ever heard of. But how about you?
Honestly, I can't recall. Honestly, I kind of been working with veterans for a little over 15 years now. So it's, I've seen the best and the worst. Some go real quick. Some take a long time, but you're right. It all depends on that fully developed claim. And like I said, medical evidence wins claims. It's even hard for the VA to decide to deny medical evidence, to say, no, we're not going to grant that because you have the condition and it was caused by service. So they can't say that. But once again, you can reach out to us here at VA Claims Insider if you're not currently a veteran that's working with us. Reach out, do a discovery call. If you're interested in signing up with Gil, you can sign directly up with Gil. They'll put his information up on the screen again, and same with me. We are not the only two coaches at this company. There are a plethora of coaches, and they're all very knowledgeable. So don't hesitate, reach out. Okay. If you're interested also, the founder of the company, Brian Reese, has put out a book. It's called You Deserve It, and it is now in the second edition. You can get it on Amazon today. Okay. And you can go to, and they'll put it up in there. You can go to, you can get a free copy of the book, and they will put that up there for you as well. For Brian Reese's book, You Deserve It, second edition. Okay.
That's a great resource. I highly recommend that, whether you want the free digital copy or get the paper copy so you can make notes in it. Either one is a great idea for you and help you understand the benefits you have, not just from the VA, but also from your state benefits also, which vary state by state. We're going to try and get into some of the questions that you folks had for us. And I just, most recent one I saw here from William Timon, apologize if I'm saying that wrong. You were talking about, you said a VSR work with you. You probably meant a VSO, Veteran Service Officer, Veteran Service Organization, to up to submit a claim. And you mentioned that you filed a whole bunch of things and ended up getting 20%. The question we had is, are you screwed and wasting your time now? And the answer is no, you're not. You may have other hurdles to get over now, but one of the benefits of sharing with your coach the decision that denied all of those claims is identifying what was wrong with them, where you failed, what was missing. The VA will tell you this is why we denied this claim. We didn't see a diagnosis. We didn't see a nexus. Um, we didn't see evidence of an occurrence in service. And it'll help you fill in those gaps, create a roadmap, if you will, for your coach to work with you to establish the appropriate evidence or to obtain the appropriate evidence that you need to establish a legitimate claim there. So no, you're not screwed. Sometimes you made claims that just aren't valid claims. That happens. You know, it's like, well, this is never going to be service connected for whatever reason it is. But oftentimes those decisions where claims have been denied will help your coach show you how to get past that, how to solve that problem, and move forward with that. Or your coach may identify other claims that make more sense for you that you might not have considered. Thoughts on that, Daryl?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people get frustrated when they get those rating decisions back, especially if they've got denied or they're underrated. You know, it's really easy to just crumple it up and throw it in the trash can and say the heck with it. You know, I'll just do. I'll you know what I mean. I'm trying to find the right word to say, but words are hard today. Um, but people just usually throw that away. Keep that. That is important information. And if you've thrown one away in the past, you can always get another copy of it. Two ways you can do that. They are available on va.gov now, and you can call the VA at the 800-827-1000 number, and they can actually email you a copy of that rating decision also. So, yeah, absolutely, that is a roadmap. You know, usually there's two reasons why people are denied, and one is they don't have a diagnosis, two, they don't have a link or a nexus. Those are the two major reasons.
You know, Daryl, yeah, Tammy Mullins has a great question here. Is a specific rater for certain conditions, for example, MST, military sexual trauma? That's a great question and an important one.
Yeah, so each regional office does have an MST coordinator. It just so happened in my office, I kind of filled that position a little bit. But each office has MST VSRs and RVSRs that work those claims specifically. Now that's not all they do; they still rate other claims, but they do try to keep those. Those are kind of high profile claims, so they do kind of keep those under control and work through as promptly as they can be. But yeah, each regional office, to answer that question, they do have specific people that do handle those claims. All right, let's get back to some of these questions that were Aaron Washburn. Will you at some point share some of your thoughts on using VACI versus lots of mixed advice out there, and I'm optimistic about my plans with VACI. So for me personally, I don't like to speak ill of anybody. Lawyers do have their purpose. Claims attorneys do have their purposes. One thing that claims attorneys do that we don't do, when you have significant back pay come in, they will take a portion of that back pay. We don't do that here. We don't touch it here. So, any thoughts, Gil?
No, I think you're absolutely right. You know, everybody has a purpose, and you know, there are VSOs out there, veteran service officers and veteran service organizations, which I mentioned earlier. They're different than what we do. They're no cost, and they can do things for you. And for many vets, that's the best first option, and we strongly recommend that you explore that option. But they don't always do things the way that we do things, and so that becomes different for you. One of your fellow vets mentioned the comments. We already talked about that with the VSO, they kind of threw everything against the wall to see what sticks. We take a more strategic approach. We recommend you file the likely biggest success first. Take the biggest swing you can to maximize your benefits in the shortest amount of time possible. That's the way our philosophy is set up. That's the way we approach things. And people do things differently. So I'm with Daryl. I think there's a great place for all these different entities and organizations to help veterans, which is ultimately the goal. And if it's the help that you need, that's great for you. Not everybody's a good fit to work with us. We know that. And we're happy to send vets to somewhere else if that's better for them, because the goal for us is to help you get the benefits that you deserve. And if or whether that's with us, which I think is the best choice for most vets. That's awesome. But everybody does have a place. Better, worse, no one's gonna. We're not gonna say, because I don't think there is a better or worse.
Right, right. Mark Nichols, guys, thanks for what you do. My question is, I am tired of waiting for my appeal that was approved to go in front of a VA law judge. It's been 2 years. Can I join your organization to get 100%, currently 90%, as long as the new claims are not associated with the appeal claim? So, yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. As long as the new claims that you potentially could submit are not associated with the claim that's currently being appealed, yeah, you can definitely work with us. Now, we don't personally do anything with the appeals process once you've gone to that appeals process, and I'm not talking the Appeals Management Act, where you have the higher level review or you have the supplemental claim process. This is more where you're going in front of a judge and the BVA, the veteran or VBA. I'm sorry, VBA. No, I was right. Board of Veterans Appeals, BVA. See, I get mixed up. I told you words are hard. The BVA, the Board of Veterans Appeals. We don't typically help out with any of those kinds of claims, but if you have enough, you have issues that are underrated or not rated currently, and you have the medical evidence, then absolutely come over, do a discovery call, and let's see what we can do.
It was one right after that. Janie Delchamps-Zesh, I think you say that. Again, apologize if I butcher your name, Janie. If you are using civilian healthcare providers and have diagnosis, do you still have to have a VA C&P exam, compensation pension exam? Well, again, that depends upon the VA. The source of your medical evidence isn't going to dictate whether you do or don't have a C&P exam. The process is going to dictate whether or not that's required, whether or not they're going to want you to come in, or whether they're going to review your evidence only and do an acceptable clinical evidence exam, an ACE exam. So again, whether you get all your health care at the VA, whether you get all your health care privately, that's not going to drive that decision. The process is going to drive that decision completely. And you're entitled to get your health care wherever you want. No one's telling you have to go to the VA to get your health care. No one's telling you can't. You do what works for you. But the goal is to have the best medical evidence to support your claim, and then have the VA decide whether that's enough to forego a live C&P exam or simply make a decision based upon the records.
Right on, right on. So, Robert Joint, how do I get my medical records from my time in service? All right, so there are a couple of ways you can do it. You can reach out to the National Archives, and all you have to do is Google National Archives, and it'll give you the how-to on that. But I found, in my experience, that it's been a lot quicker. If you have a file, or if you have a claim, if you've ever filed a claim with the VA, you can request what's called your C file. And I know somebody asked, what is a C file? A C file is your claims file. Okay, that's your claims file. That's any correspondence you've ever done with the VA. All right. So if you filed a claim, and I said this at the beginning, so if you filed a claim with the VA requests your service treatment records, your service personnel file, and then anytime you have any interaction with them, if you have a compensation and pension examination, you have a rating decision, any kind of medical evidence you may have submitted, the VA keeps all of that in a virtual file or in a data file. So requesting that C file from the VA usually goes a lot quicker. I think right now we're looking at maybe 8 to 10 weeks turnaround on it. It might be a little longer, once again, because of the PACT Act, but typically they get that information. They get everything they've got, your service treatment records, your personnel file, and they'll send you a disk, right? And I know that most computers don't even have disks nowadays, but you can take that down to a facility that can convert it to a thumb drive for you, so you can plug it into your computer. But that, in my experience, that's been the quickest way to get those medical records from service. And anybody that's listening who's currently in service or getting ready to get out of service, make sure you make a copy of those before you get out, specifically National Guard and Reserves. But make sure you get a copy of those records before you get out, because those National Guard and Reserve records are a little bit more difficult to obtain after you're out. So having those at the time of your discharge and making copies for yourself is key.
Kayla asked a related question. Can we ever see the results of those appointments? I'm assuming you're referring to C&P exams. You can request your C&P exam results. There's a specific process to do that. I don't remember the name of the process, Joe. You might remember it off the top of your head. But you can request those. Now, if the C&P exam is done by the VA itself and not one of their contractors, that'll typically show up in your VA treatment record. You can download your Blue Button report and you'll see it there. But more often than not these days, C&P exams are done by independent contractors, companies like VES and others. And so you're going to have to request that through the process of requesting that C&P exam. It's not given to you as a matter of course. But again, as Joe just pointed out, in the past, it's going to be part of your C file, your claims file with the VA. So if you're looking for exams that you had in the past to see what was done for you in the past, you can request that. That'll include all of that information, which can be helpful.
Right. Yeah. Typically, that's a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request. But also know that the VA usually does not release those until after the claim has been decided. If it's done by the VA, they'll be in your Blue Button report 30 days after, like Gil said. But typically, anything else, they wait for the claim to be finalized before they release those records. Okay. Let's go to Patrick Abel. If I filed an intent to file in June, but my initial claim for PTSD does not fall under the PACT Act, but some future ones will the future claims still fall under the PACT Act timeliness? So with an intent to file, it's one intent to file for one claim. So if you filed an intent to file in June, and then you filed a claim for PTSD after that, that intent to file in June was used by your claim for PTSD. That's why we say up until you're 100%, you should always have an intent to file on record, always. So as soon as you submit that claim, give it a couple of days, make sure the claim's in the system, go back in, file another intent to file, always have one on record, and it will not. So if you have your PTSD claim as being worked by the VA, you can do another intent to file and it won't affect that claim that you have going currently. It won't set it back. It won't delay it, anything like that. Basically, that intent to file is just you telling the VA at some point in the next year, I am going to submit a claim for a condition. All right. And once again, if you have any questions about stuff like that, those are actually really common questions that we get here. If you have any questions like that, do a discovery call, set up a time with one of our coaches and ask those questions, and we can get it rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And intent to file confuses a lot of vets because, like any other topic, you talk to 10 vets and get 10 expert opinions about stuff they don't know anything about. With that intent to file, although they tell you it's good for a year, which is true, that means or until you file a claim on it. When you file that claim, it's gone. And submitting a new one is really easy. You can go online and go through that claim process. So be careful when you do that, because you don't have to identify the claim that you intend to file, just that you do intend to file a claim. Once you identify a particular issue online, the VA treats that as submitting a claim. They're going to start that process and say, well, we need this, we need this, we need this. We don't have any other information. And what you've done is started a claim with no evidence. And you're not doing yourself any favors. The easiest thing to do, in my view, is to call the 800 number, 1-800-827-1000, and just tell them I want to open an intent to file. Or if you're not sure, ask them, do I have an open intent to file? And they'll tell you. And they can open one for you right there without having to identify what the particular issue is going to be, and you're in good shape.
And that kind of leads to another thing. If you are calling the 800 number to do an intent to file and you intend to do it under the PACT Act, remember today is your last day in order to get back paid to last August. But when you call the 800 number, just tell them you want to do an intent to file for a PACT Act claim. All right. They will annotate that. If you're going to do it through va.gov, then I would recommend that you send in another form, that VA form 21-4138, stating that it's for a PACT Act claim also. But make sure that you're identifying for the PACT Act that it is a PACT Act claim. But Gil's right, and I don't want to confuse anybody because I might just have.
No, you did great. There's no confusion there at all.
All right. So yeah, you don't have to claim any conditions. You don't have to claim any conditions when you're doing intent to file, because you might think today I want to do one for mental health, and then 6 months from now you haven't filed a claim yet, but you have something, and you know, whether it's migraines or another condition, and you want to file for that instead, you know, then it just makes it easier. Can you apply for sleep apnea secondary depression and anxiety? Medical evidence wins claims. That's what I'm going to say. Medical evidence wins claims. And as long as you're fulfilling the needs of that Kaluza triangle and that golden circle, I'm not going to say whether it's going to be successful or unsuccessful, but just know that the more medical evidence you have to substantiate your claim, the higher the chances you're going to win that claim.
You know, that's worth reiterating, and you'll hear all of us say it all the time. Medical evidence wins claims. Medical evidence wins claims. Not just your say-so. Even though you might be right, you still have to have that medical evidence. You know, remember the Kaluza triangle, as we talked about. You know, you have to have a current diagnosis of a disability condition. You don't have a diagnosis, you're never going to get a claim approved. You have to have evidence that it arose or occurred in service or is caused by another service-connected condition. And then you have to have that nexus opinion connecting those two things. You got to have all three, all right? Medical evidence is the key. Daryl can't say it enough. I can't say it enough. When you work with us, you hear your coach harp on it. You need medical evidence to get this claim approved. Without that, you're dead in the water. You're spinning your wheels. You waste your time. Whatever phrase you want to use, it's not going to work.
Right on. Bill Goodyear. Should I take any documents to my CMP exam for the doctor to view? What I'm going to say is you can take documentation for the doctor to view. The doctor is not required to review that documentation. That is why we really push for fully developed claims. Once you submit that documentation to the VA, it becomes record with the VA. Before you go to an examination, the doctor is required to review your file, and the doctor is given your file, so those documents will be in there. So when you're dealing with doctors in the VA, know that number one, they don't have to accept your documentation, they don't have to review it. Get it in beforehand through the fully developed claim process. Get it in there so it's of record. That way, not only the doctor can view it, but the rating specialist can review it also. Okay.
You know, the key there, and Dale's absolutely right, they don't have to accept that. It doesn't hurt you to bring it. But if you haven't submitted as part of your claim, you're hurting yourself. You want to get everything that's appropriate for your claim submitted as part of your claim in your file, ready for them to review. I've had vets take evidence with them to CNP exams when the doctor said, sure, I'll take a look at that. And they said, yeah, I've already seen this. You know, it's already been submitted. I've had others that said, oh, this is really helpful. I'm glad you brought this. So, you know, like everything else we tell you, it depends, you know. But the goal is get it into your claim as part of your file. If it's appropriate evidence to support your claim, you want to make sure it does not fall through the cracks simply because you think giving it to the CNP doctor is going to be better for you. It's not. They may not even look at it. They may not even accept it.
Right. Hey, just kind of a blanket thing. Going through the comments here, I do see a lot of questions about an intent to file. One thing on an intent to file, you do have a year to submit a claim. Now, if you don't submit a claim within that year, that intent to file goes away. All right. So it's only good for a year. If you file it today, August 9th, 2023, it's only going to be good until August 8th, 2024. Okay. So make sure that you get that claim submitted and it is one intent to file per one claim submitted. Okay. And so if you think I'm going to do 3 claims and you submit 3 intent to files, you'll only need to have one. One will cover it. Okay. And just kind of a recap. Let's recap some things here. So, number one, let's recap about VACI. All right. So we do go off the SEM method, strategy, education, medical evidence. All right. And we do also do one-on-one coaching. You'll have a strategy session. You'll have a claim submission coach through. And then you'll also get that CMP, compensation and pension examination preparation that, in all honesty, is very important because that CMP exam is the most important day in the claims process. Gil, you want to cover the live classes?
Absolutely. We hold live classes for your benefit and your education, usually 3 classes a day. We'll have classes for CNP prep, whether it's for a mental health examination or whether it's a physical examination. Those classes also help you prepare for an evaluation with an independent medical provider. You want to make sure that you are well prepared. You understand the process. You understand the symptoms that you're experiencing and how to explain your symptoms. Remember, education is the key here. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. Whether it's your own doctor or whether it's the CNP examiner, if you don't tell them, they don't know. And so we want to make sure that you are as well educated about your own conditions and your own claims as anybody else's. And that's why education is so important for you. And also, the classes aren't a one-time deal for you. I tell my vets that when you're preparing for a CNP exam, I want you to go to so many classes that you can almost teach the thing. Because the benefit you're going to get is that each one of us coaches teaches these classes, and we all have our own perspective and our own experiences. And so you're going to get something different each time. Plus, there's other veterans in that class that may have questions or share experiences. They're going to pertain to you, and they're going to help you think about things that maybe you hadn't thought of before. And so that's really going to help you. So our classes are a huge component of the benefits of working with you. There 3 times a day. Coffee with the coach, as I mentioned earlier, Monday through Friday, an early morning informal session where you can ask various questions of the team of coaches that are hosting that day or that week, and also share some camaraderie with other veterans. I know a lot of us, once we left, many of us missed the opportunity to talk to other veterans because, face it, we're just different. We talk about different things. We talk differently than other people. Some of us have trouble with words. I know I do. Daryl, you have been a little bit today.
Words are hard.
Words is hard. And we have, like I said, different classes on different days, and it's a repeating schedule. In each subject, we try and do one midday and one evening to accommodate maybe your schedule. And then, of course, don't forget Brian Reese's book, You Deserve It. Second edition is now available. You can buy that on Amazon. It's a great resource. Or you can log on for a free digital download of that book. We're running up on the end of our hour. Daryl, it's been quite a pleasure hearing your wealth of information here, sharing some of the answers for our vets. Do you have any parting thoughts before we take off for the day?
If you're not already a member of VACI, do that discovery call. Talk to one of our very knowledgeable people. Stop going in circles. We try to alleviate as much of the frustration as possible, as humanly possible. But yeah, get with us. Let's see what we can do for you. Actually,
great having you here today.
Let's see how we can help you help yourself.
There you go. Hey, nobody should care more about your claim than you. We're here to coach you through the process and make you the best claimant that you could be.
All right. Now, remember, if we didn't get to your question, they will be answered. So just kind of keep an eye out for the answers on those questions. And join us next Wednesday for another Facebook Live.
And if you want to catch up on this, they should post this up on the YouTube channel within a day or two. You can review it, watch it again, take a look at D-Mac's pretty face and my annoying voice. It's great to see y'all. Joe, good to work with you again.
You also, Gil.
Thanks, vets.